Ooh, you are live. Hello, everybody. Welcome. If you're viewing live on Pathlight Thrive Hive on Facebook, welcome. And if you're watching later on YouTube, then welcome to you as well. So I'm Paulston. I am the director of Pathlight Limited, a company that offers mental health first aid training, workplace wellbeing programs, coaching, webinars, and all sorts of lovely stuff around wellbeing and mental health and personal development and stuff like that. Pathlight Thrive Hive is this lovely community that I set up at the start of the pandemic to support people and inspire people and educate people. That sounds a bit, I don't know, I don't like the sound of me educating people, but hopefully inspiring people. And this evening we have a special guest who is Lisa Devoy. Lisa is a Reiki practitioner. She's a lunar. If you don't know what a lunar is, we'll be finding out very shortly, and a spiritual coach. So we're going to be talking about all sorts of stuff today around spiritual well-being and inner work. We're going to talk about manifesting, reaction and response, inner child work, chakras, attachment, and how we can look after ourselves through energy protection, how to bracket and remove ourselves from factors that can have a negative impact on our mental health, whether that be relationships or something else. So lots to work through this evening. It's going to be a busy old chat, I reckon, and hopefully very interesting. So I hope you'll find it useful. So before we get Lisa in, just a few messages of kind of marketing-y stuff, I suppose. So last weekend was Thrive Hive Fest. I curated a festival, would you believe it? 5 weeks ago. It was just a seed of an idea, and then it all came together, and we had a wonderful, lovely time and welcomed 30 artists, musicians and poets and more. And it was a lovely, fantastic event, an online festival. So if you didn't catch it live, then you can still watch it. Don't fret. So you can still get tickets from my website, which is pathlight.org.uk/events. And tickets are £10, and all proceeds, after the Eventbrite have taken their fees, boo hiss, all proceeds go to Mind, my local branch of Mind, the mental health charity. And I promise you, it's worth seeing, worth experiencing. It was a really wonderful event with loads of talented artists. And very uplifting as well, I found, as did many others. So grab a ticket. Maybe you can watch it this weekend. And if you would like to share this group with your network, whether it's on Facebook or just tell your mates, then please feel free to do so. You can just invite them in, or you can share the link to the group through Facebook or whatever you want to do. The more the merrier. And finally, if you are enjoying the Hive, if you are getting some benefit from being here, maybe you'll want to give me some money. So you can go to buymeacoffee.com/thrivehive and buy me a virtual coffee for £3 or 2 coffees for £6. Or you can become a member for £7 a month. And there's various benefits you get from doing so, such as discounts on my mental health first aid courses and all sorts of lovely gubbins. So that's enough sales stuff for now, and we'll get Lisa in. If you have any questions, by the way, as we go through tonight, you can just pop them in the comments. We won't be able to see what your name is when you put your comments in, unless you've already gone to this link here. You can do it now if you want, streamyard.com/Facebook, and just give StreamYard permission to use your name and photo, or you can remain anonymous to us, or you can just type your name before the question, whatever you want to do. Okay, so here we go. Lisa, welcome to Pathlight Thrive Hive, and thank you for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. So there's a couple of standard questions that I ask everyone when I remember to do so. So first of all, how has this whole pandemic been for you? How has it affected you?
At first, the very first lockdown, I felt that I actually needed the break, if that makes sense, because I'm just so involved with so much work-wise and socially. You kind of get to a point where you're on overdrive, autopilot, and I felt that it actually forced me into having a break, which I never do if I'm in the country. I have to go abroad to have a break, because if I'm here, I will go into work or I will do something or another. So the first time I found it very, very, it kind of cleansed me in a way, because the weather was amazing too. Got out with the dog quite a lot, and there was just a lot to do garden wise in the house that needed catching up on. I was definitely by summer ready to try and get to some festivals, which didn't happen because I'm a big music fan. This one, it's kind of not enjoying it very much. However, it's kind of structured where it needs to be done. Hopefully there's light at the end of the tunnel kind of thing. So it's just rubbish this time because we can't get out as much. But you know, there's ways to try and raise your vibration and take it as it is, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So the weather's not as sunny and warm as it was, but you can still get out there. Put an extra layer on and get out there.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Lovely. Yeah. So thanks for that. It sounds like you're someone who's very passionate about their work, and I know you've got several jobs going on. So I'm guessing you're never bored, Lisa. Always doing something.
No, always. I like to be completely stimulated all the time mentally.
Yeah. Good stuff. So tell us what you love. What are your passions?
Music, massively. Involved with a massive media for Manchester, which is a massive music brand. We put on quite a few events and I run all their social media and help with the promotions. Massive on animals. Just really love animals. I've got loads myself, which I keep adopting, which I haven't really got the room for. And I Thai box, and I love being in the great outdoors. I was in the Peak District, finding lovely walks, no matter what the weather is. So, yeah. And obviously spiritualism.
Yeah. So Lisa's home for abandoned animals and all over the Manchester scene as well. I'm a big fan of that too. Okay, so thank you for that. So maybe you'd just like to tell us a little bit about what you do and why you do it, Lisa.
On Luna?
Yes, yeah.
I noticed from a very young age I was quite empathic towards other people, their emotions, their thoughts. I can pick up on it very easily. I can read people very easily, how they feel. I can figure out why they feel like that, why they react the way they do. I've got a very high emotional intelligence, and I've always known that. I used it to try and figure myself out as well after a stint of adolescent mental health issues surrounding growing up. And I then decided, once I'd managed to heal myself, that I could go on and help other people. So I think that the spiritual energy that we all carry is so important to protect, because with it, it's got so much to do with our mental and emotional health, that there's just small bits of self-care and looking after our emotional and mental health can make such an impact on just every single day life, how you approach everything in your life. Minor self-care makes so much difference. And if I can kind of help people begin to do that, they tend to take that away. And then I don't think there's one single person that I've ever worked with that hasn't gone on to do more and more. And it's just, once you start reading one thing, you go into another, you read or listen to podcasts, and you just in a completely different realm. And it does really work wonders.
So it sounds like you're very intuitive, and would you describe yourself as an empath as well?
Oh, completely, yeah. It's the energies I can absorb off other people. I mean, I know how to stop that now, but as a child and as an adolescent, it was very confusing, because you do pick up all sort of people's feelings and why they feel like that, and you know, you feel that energy. So now I use it for the good, because I can help people become more emotionally intelligent and figure out why they respond certain ways and how to not do that. The massive one with that for me that I learned on my own journey was expectation. I got to a stage a few years ago where I do not expect anything of anybody, because that is the biggest letdown that you can actually set yourself up for. You have your self expectations. I know how to behave. I know how to treat people. I know how I would like to be treated. However, I can't expect that of another person, because they may not mentally, emotionally, or even in a state of arrogance be able to give that to me. So if you don't expect anything off anybody, you can't be let down. Somebody said, does that not make you lonely? It doesn't, because the right people will gravitate towards you. And if you don't accept the ones that don't treat you properly, then you can't open up for the ones that do. So you just have to kind of, it's like filtering, but in human form. You have to filter the people that you want around you, the people that I set up a kind of, I've been there, I've done the whole party scene, don't get me wrong, and I've been absolutely wild, especially when I started working in music. However, it gets to a stage where you do meet people that kind of, on that scene, drain you. They aren't as morally substantial as you are, and you begin to get let down, and then you question why people aren't like that, why people let you down, why people treat you like that. And then you begin to get this kind of egoistic state where you build up a wall. So then that's not your natural being. You built up a wall against exterior energy. Does that make sense? So you can't be at your natural state where you are like pure, you're open to love, you want to gravitate all the nice peace and love into your life, because you built up this wall because of what people have done and treated you in a certain manner. Yeah. So if you carry on kind of moving in certain circles, and that's without the sort of like the toxins such as the alcohol making you feel absolute rubbish, then you're not going to kind of heal yourself and feel better. So I made that decision to kind of move myself away from that. And for a time, I was a little bit like, well, I'm a little bit lost in this, that, and the other. But I did delve more into spiritualism. I've always been very, very spiritual, and spent my weekends. Now, at one time, I would have been probably still at a party or in a club at 6 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Not every weekend. However, I did do that sometimes. Now I could be on the top of the Peak District watching the sunrise at like 5:45, and I'll sit there with a hot chocolate and my dog at 6 a.m. and think there's just no, when the sun, like the whole sky's on fire, I think there's just nowhere I'd rather be. It's just absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. And you kind of, a massive form of spiritualism is gratitude. Just learning to be absolutely grateful for the tiny things in life. The best advice, if anybody's looking for any with gratitude, is even if I'm a little bit like, oh, I've got so much to do, today's going to be a rubbish day, I'm not going to stop for 10 hours. When I get up and I take the dog, that's the first thing I do. Make sure I get fresh air as soon as I wake up. I have a coffee and then I go for fresh air, whether that'll be walking the dog or I take him for a run. So the first thing I do is kind of like set my day up to clear my head, and then figure out what I've got to do. But how I start the walk is, even if I'm not feeling that great, I think of 3 things I am grateful for. It could be tiny, tiny things. I'm grateful that I woke up this morning and I'm not ill. I'm grateful this morning that my children are well. I'm grateful this morning that I'm walking the dog and it isn't raining. It's not going to be massive things, and it's kind of putting that positive vibration into your mindset. Even if you're feeling rubbish, just keep saying good things, like, right, okay, maybe there's a reason this has gone wrong, or maybe there's, right, okay, I've just got to think of, it's not the end of the world. Yeah, it's not ideal, however, it's pushing me into a more constructive way of doing things. I've got to use my mind here. It's all like a positive mindset. So gratitude is a massive one, because it's just, and if there's one kind of self-care that you can do every single day, I'd say meditation. And anybody that says, I would say people should do it around at least 15 minutes meditation, even if it's before you go into bed. And if anybody says, I haven't got time, to do half an hour because you need it.
Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Lisa. So that's a practice I have as well. The other way around, actually. I bookend my day with, I start off with a meditation and I end with gratitude. So I do journaling before I go to bed and note down what I've been grateful for on that day. But yeah, it's lovely. There's a lot that you said there, Lisa, around, firstly, expectation. And that reminds me of a phrase that my late dad used to say: expectation is the mother of disappointment, which is kind of what you were saying. And yeah, gosh, loads of stuff there. But the sunrise as a more nourishing food for the soul than perhaps being in the hacienda with a lot of drugs and many pints of ale, which had its day. But yeah, we move on, don't we? Great stuff. So, so Luna, can you tell me what a Luna is and what Luna Wellbeing is?
Yep. Luna is actually the name I chose for the page, and the reason for that is because I have a massive belief that we move with the moon cycles because of the energetic forces of the moon. A lot of people don't sleep when we're coming up to a new moon. The mood shift, and I do a lot of my spiritual practices surrounding the moons. So if I do sort of any kind of rituals for like prosperity or a kind of protection ritual, that kind of thing, which I do a lot of with Luna, I will revolve those around the lunar cycle. So last night was the new moon. So that's all for like new beginnings and things like that, setting your intentions for the month. Good time to start new things. And with any kind of ritual or spell work, if you like, the written word is the most powerful, and that goes with thoughts as well, which I should have mentioned with self-care surrounding that. The most powerful words you say are the ones you say to yourself. So you will believe whatever you like set yourself out to believe. And another massive one as well is nobody has the right to tell you how you feel. If you're upset about something, then nobody's got the right to say, well, you shouldn't be upset about that, or don't be so silly. They're your boundaries. So you need to lay out those are to be respected. And if other people cannot respect them, then unfortunately you might lose a lot of people, but you'll only keep the best people. So anyway, I should have mentioned that with the self-protection and stuff like that, but we'll go back onto Luna. So yeah, I called it Luna because Luna is obviously in relation to the moon, and I feel that a lot of us are sort of like in rhythm with the moon cycles. So that's where Luna came from.
Yes, a lot of people I know speak about their mood and their motivation and all sorts of things, energy levels shifting in sync with the moon cycle. So I think, do you think it is just about being attuned to it, so people notice it when they are aware of that kind of thing, or do you think it actually affects everybody?
I believe it does to a certain element. It's just that people are more aware of it because there's people that aren't so spiritual that I work with, or people that I know when they've said, oh, I can't sleep, or oh, I'm in the right mood, and I'll say, oh, the moon's this, and they just sort of look at me, but their mood is completely in cycle with the moon. So they may not like associate it, but that's because I'm so in touch with the way people feel and the moon cycles, horoscopes. There's just so much. I can place everything together and try and make sense to people if that kind of adds up.
Putting the pieces of the jigsaw together.
Yeah.
So you spoke about it being a new moon yesterday, did you say?
Yeah.
So that's a good time for starting new things, and we're going to speak a bit about manifesting. So do you want to kind of explain what you understand by manifesting, Lisa?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that many people would have heard the term the law of attraction, which is what I mentioned as well also with the words that you say to yourself. So you say, or so you be, so you'll attract. So if you are permanently down on yourself, expecting negativity, feeling negative, saying negative things about yourself, about other people, about your surroundings, your vibration will be absolute rock bottom. So therefore you will not be open to bring in the good things because you're concentrating too much on the bad things. So once you start feeling that, okay, I'm going to change my mindset, these are the things that I would like to manifest, is the word into my life, which is, as we're talking about my mental health here, I will say positive thought, and to have some motivation. And to many people say they want to bring in love. Now, a biggie for me is when people say, Lisa, can you do me a love spell? I can manifest and do love spells for people. However, you can't put a person's name in it, because that's going against their free will. Does that make sense? So if somebody wanted to manifest, so if you wanted to manifest on the new moon, what you would do is, I'd suggest getting what's called a clear quartz crystal, a glass jar, and you can write down your wishes, what you would like to manifest. You would fold those up, put them in the glass jar with the clear quartz, leave it to charge outside the moon. And then in the next day, you'll bring it in. You can take the clear quartz out and wear it for extra power. And then when the full moon comes, you burn it under the full moon to give it away. And then you'll wait for it to come in. Another way of manifesting is to write down in a book. I've got a book of shadows where I do my manifesting, and you write down what you'd like, and then you kind of give it away. And if you place a need on it, it becomes an obsession. So that's not a negative, that's a negative emotion. So you have to kind of let it go and let it come back into you. But if people do like a lot of research on the law of attraction, it'll start all making sense if you want to go further into it.
So it's interesting you're talking about crystals there, because I have a couple of friends actually who work with crystals. One's a crystal healer, and another one is just kind of experimenting on herself at the moment. And she's been placing the crystals on her various chakra points in order to affect her energy in some way. So do you see that as one and the same thing, or a connected thing with the crystals and the chakras?
Absolutely. I mean, I've got chakra crystals. I mean, I cleanse them and charge them again after every session I do. However, when I start with my Reiki on people's chakras, I give them the relevant crystal to hold as I'm healing that chakra. So it's definitely connective. And then obviously after each person, I cleanse the crystals and then charge them again under the moon before my next client. It's definitely, yeah. I mean, I'm wearing one at the moment. It's in a tree of life, but I've never not got one on. It's constant.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to say about the chakras, Lisa?
The chakras, you've got 7. So you've got your root chakra, you've got your sacral, your solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And each one start at your root. That starts at the very base of you being who you are, your childhood, that kind of thing. And as you move up, it goes along your life. And they all represent different aspects of your spiritual being. So then your sacral chakra will be kind of your desires, what you actually drive for, what you want. And you go into your solar plexus, that's all your gut instincts, your feelings, your intuition, that kind of thing. Your heart is obviously love, the way you feel. A lot of people need a lot of work on the heart chakras. That's how that works with Reiki. You get when you're in tuned by a Reiki master, they in tune you with symbols. And the heart chakra is the only one that's got its individual symbol, because so many people need so much work on it. There's 3. There's one for long distance Reiki, which you have to tune to yourself before you do long distance Reiki. There's a standard one that opens all the chakras, and then there's one just for the heart. So that's the one that always needs quite a lot of work, unfortunately. It's usually damage caused by exteriors, from other people and situation, unfortunately. Then we move on to the throat, which is your inner voice, the way you express yourself, which can be well or not so well, because some people can't say how they feel. Some people say it through anger or reaction, that kind of thing. So unblocking that one gives us a lot more clarity and being able to express ourselves a lot better. Third eye is your intuition. Mine's wide open. The way I can read people, to see what's going on around me, feel everything that's going on around me, that kind of thing. Like my eyesight and hearing is second to none. When I'm out, I can see like every glistening raindrop on a leaf, because I'm like wide awake. I can hear everything, every sound to me. I can hear like standard sounds, but then I can hear everything that's going on around. So it's like my third eye is wide open. And your crown chakra is obviously your intellect, your intelligence, and how you are with, like, how you absorb what other people are saying to you and how they explain themselves, that kind of thing. So, but when I'm doing it as well, when I'm doing the Reiki and opening the chakras, I'll say to people, prime example, I did a lady the other week, and I said, why do I keep getting horses and spiders? Because I'm scared to death of both. So when I'm touching the people, I get the images in my head, so I know what to heal. Does that make sense? And then when I went to a heart, I said, I'm getting heart problems, but they're not yours. It's something to do with a Capricorn. And she said, yeah, it's my son. He's got a heart condition and his birthday is January. It's next week, so I did it in January. So that it's just so clever how it works. I can't say how it works. I've got no idea. All I know is that somehow I read tarot as well. So when I'm reading tarot and I kind of like touch people, I get images placed in my head and I will tell them what I see, and it can make absolutely no sense to me, but that person will know what I'm going on about, and I'll just be like, unbelievable, because it's things that they haven't, obviously I won't know anything about, or they've never told other people about. So like names and things like that of people, and so it's just very, very clever how it works.
So do you find generally that people come to you for Reiki or some other kind of spiritual treatments, and they have one or more of their chakras blocked, and your task is to kind of unblock them? Very, very much so. The root's a big one, massive one, because when you're born, I'll tell you a little bit about the shadow work, because that's surrounded a lot around the root chakra as well. When you're born, as I said before, you are a innocent being. All you know is love and survival. So that's all you know how to do. And then you'll kind of want to play when you get into a kind of toddler thing, and that's all you know at that age, and you'll get hungry and you'll have a survival mechanism. Then you start to get to be told, no, don't do this, no, you're not allowed that, no, that's naughty. So then you kind of, okay, then if you've got really dominant, strict parents, as I had, it was, now I'm scared to make a decision. Now I'm worried about a reaction from you, so I don't want to do that. And then you become kind of blocked in, and that is what causes your shadow side. So your real being is now being overbeared by this shadow of you because of external forces. Does this make sense? So as you go older, unfortunately, we meet people, as I have, in relationships, and you end up getting hurt. Everybody gets hurt. However, just things are said to you, you're treated a certain way badly, and that creates a bigger shadow side. And that shadow side gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and becomes dominant over you. And you kind of, in a way, get an ego where I'm not being treated like this, and I'm not doing that, and I'm not doing this. And you become quite abrupt with a lot of people rather than know how to filter people. So it's a lot to do with getting rid of that shadow side, but with that you have to get rid of a lot of people in your life, a lot, because unfortunately, and I hate to say this, I would say 90% of people cannot be trusted with the actual true being that you are, because people are that damaged themselves, they don't know how to treat you properly, and that's not their fault. They've just not healed their shadow side, so they're not ready to hit your purity. So you have, unfortunately, got to stick to your boundaries, not letting
anybody tell you how to feel or how to. Reaction and response is a big one. I mean, everybody's got triggers. So if you feel that your trigger is about to be hit, you need to kind of remove yourself from that situation. Like, my trigger used to be where abandonment issues, because I had to leave my parents' house very, very young. So I had abandonment issues. So if I was with a guy and we had an argument and he said, I'm going, I could not cope. I would just fall apart, because that reminded me of my childhood shadow side. Just couldn't handle it. Now I think, right, well, you know, that was damaging anyway because we were arguing. I can put it into perspective these days. Whereas then it was just like trigger, 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 trigger. Don't go, don't leave me, no matter how bad the situation was. That's how I would have handled that situation in my late teens, early 20s, because I was just scared to death of being left again. Now I'm like, oh, that person's got a choice. Maybe that person isn't right for me. If they want to leave, then, you know, I'm not right for that person. There's another person that's right out there for them. And you can kind of let them go and just it's more knowing what you need to let in and what you need to let out, rather than trying to grip something, hold it for dear life because you're scared of losing it. When I've realised now that fear is an illusion, there is nothing, fear isn't real. It's just built up from a shadow side. And I'm not saying go out and be completely reckless, because that's not the case. However, I truly believe that everything happens for a reason. So you've got to kind of just go with it and hope for the best and just try and make the best out of whatever situation's thrown at you, really.
So it sounds like it's just trusting that if it's meant to be, it will be, and having those boundaries, which are strong boundaries around relationships, and allowing yourself to be yourself, but also having those porous boundaries, so letting things flow out. If they're not right for you, just let it go.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have got these slight boundaries, it's a case of, I don't want to, and it was difficult working in music because I did seem to attract a lot of people that did want to party, did want a good old drink, and I still had that other, even though I had that rock and roll, I still had a life where I had kids, I had animals, I had a house, I had a stable job at Manchester United football ground, I had all sorts to do. So I still had that normality, whereas through the week, and not every single weekend, because I would have been working football matches or not wanting to go out, I wanted that normal life and just that stability, where people just seem to want to, on that scene, a lot of them want to drink and that was my boundary. Well, no, I don't want to do that this weekend. If that's what you want to do, then you're not right for me. You go and do that. And you're controlling, you don't tell me if I can and can't drink. I'm not telling you that you can and can't drink. I'm just telling you that doesn't suit me. So if that's what you want to do, go. Because that doesn't suit me or my lifestyle that I want. And rather than I used to battle with people, but now I'm just like, just go and do it. Not now, because I'm quite in a stable position, but I just, until you get that filter where you know what you want, you know what to accept, then unfortunately you're just going to keep going around in circles.
So it's about knowing yourself, I think, and what you were saying a little earlier, Lisa, about, you know, we arrive as pure beings, just love, and that's all we are. We just love and survival. And then I'm trained to be a psychotherapist, so the psychotherapeutic way of framing this, I suppose, is that as we grow up, we build these behavioural adaptations, as you said, you know, whether it's strict parents or teachers or society in general, shapes us into fitting in, and we have these mechanisms to try and protect ourselves and be loved and be wanted and stuff. And I think for me, and it sounds like what you're saying as well, I suppose that the spiritual journey is about unpicking all of those adaptations and masks that we wore, and just getting back to our true selves and knowing and respecting who we are.
It is. It's definitely that, because you hit the nail on the head when you said about wanting to fit in. I've never so much fitted in, but it is, you do kind of trying to follow the crowd, and people still, when I talk about stuff now, just look at me as if I'm like bat crazy, but it doesn't bother me anymore. It just really doesn't bother me. I think I've just got used to the way I am now, because they are used to it. At first, when people sometimes meet me, they're just like, "You're not even on this planet." But it's, in a way, I am kind of in a little dream world a lot of the time. But to me, it makes perfect sense, because if I haven't got a clue most of the time what's going on outside my bubble. I'm very aware when I'm on it, when I'm at work, obviously, or when I need to be. I know exactly what I'm doing, but I have got absolutely no interest what people are doing on the street, what someone's doing in Asda, what the next person might be doing, or what he said or what she said. I don't give a flying, because it's a waste of someone's energy when you can be constantly working on yourself. You can be doing things that are making you happy, because I've just got no time for judging anyone, for giving any sort of criticism towards anyone. It's just, again, about being a pure person. And someone can say, "Oh, did you hear that this?" And I'm like, no. And I've just got no interest in indulging in that conversation, because ego is a massive one. Ego is just, if you can strip yourself of your ego, I think you're definitely winning at life, because and with ego, you think, well, I'm not arrogant. It's not just about that. Ego's like, prime example, if you're in a relationship, and when you're in a relationship, as you probably know, they can rile you. They've got that power because you've got feelings for them to just really trigger you. But it's kind of when somebody says something to you, you've got that power to think, am I going to react to this because he's peed me off? Or am I just going to keep quiet? Because I know for a fact when I get off the phone, I'll go away and think of it and think, I shouldn't have said that. Because I can start off in an absolutely amazing position and just say that other people, I won't say in the wrong, however, that person's going to be being a bit of an idiot at the time. Now, I always find that I would come off the telephone call or walk away from the conversation, whether it be face to face, thinking, well, I was actually in a good position till I reacted. Then my reaction caused me to then think, shouldn't have said that, shouldn't have done that, shouldn't have behaved in that manner. Then that kind of puts me in a bad position where I can't stand by what I was right for in the first place because of my behaviour afterwards. Whereas now, if I'm ever in that position, romantically, friendship, any kind of relationship, I will hold my whole demeanour to the point where, well, I was right, and I'm not going to argue with you about that because I think I'm right. This is my reason I'm right. That's how I feel, and you don't get to tell me otherwise. So there's no kind of, well, you said this and you said that. No, I didn't. I didn't react to you. I can kind of pull myself away, where it's one time I'd just be like, you this and you're that, and you're arrogant, yeah. And now I'm just like, no, I'm not doing this. Even though I want to sometimes, I've got the power to say, I'm leaving this conversation for now. And that is just, it just keeps you in such a strong position to be able to do that.
So it is a mindful response rather than an emotional reaction. And we always have that choice, don't we? We always have that choice. And you said, when we are in relationship, they know how to press our buttons. So for me, it's about learning what those buttons are and unscrewing them. That's my responsibility. And then it's my responsibility how I respond. Responsibility. We've got that choice. Okay, so what should we talk about next? We've done that. So attachment, is that a good place to go now?
Yeah, absolutely. Attachment's massive. It's basically, the best way I can describe attachment is attachment and detachment is a massive one. So, for example, if somebody says a certain thing to you, which let me try and think of an example. If somebody's arranged to see you, for example, and they cancel on you, or they need to do something else, so many people, whether that's friendships, romantic relationships, anything like that, can say, we're not interested, it's over, I'm not doing this, blah, blah, blah. That is your ego taking over. So you've attached yourself to that situation that wasn't about you. That situation was about something they needed to do, and you've made it emotionally about you and took emotional offense on that and attached to it. So what you need to do regarding that situation is detach yourself from that, saying, right, well, I'm sure this person would rather be spending time with me rather than working. So you've kind of detached emotionally, and it builds up such a better and much stronger bond, friendship wise and emotional wise, with any kind of relationship. It isn't just romantic relationships. So many people kind of, I think it comes from a lot of self-worth, and it does come again from that shadow side of being let down, that you cannot take offense to unfortunately take offense to anybody else's behaviors. Because even if at one time, when I was younger, if somebody had have been aggressive or arrogant towards me, or they'd have got it, I'd have wiped the floor with them. Now I can just kind of think, you've got a lot going on. There's a lot going on in your head. You've got a lot going on emotionally. You've probably got serious issues somewhere along the line, and I'm removing myself from this. I'm not attaching to your emotion, to your response and reaction. This isn't about me. And just kind of say, right, whatever, I'm not dealing with you. But that with the attachment thing, it is solely people attach themselves to other people's behaviors. And another good example of that would be, you do see men and women that are in abusive relationships, and they seem to stay because they think it'll get better and they can help the person, which sometimes may be the case, but they are not there to kind of attach themselves to that situation and think they can heal it. What you need to do is detach from people's behaviors and just kind of protect your own energy. If anything is unwavering you, it's just really not healthy. And that is going to have a really bad impact on you, because again, that shadow side is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger because of other people's behaviors. And you've got to, I keep saying the word filter, you've got to filter the people that you've got in your life, because I actually believe that your self-worth, your self-words are just massive, because another good saying is your vibe attracts your tribe. If you've got this positive vibe going on, and you've got these practices in place and these boundaries in place and this self-respect in place, you then go on to know how to treat other people, how to respect other people, and how to make other people feel special and valued. If you haven't got that about yourself, then you can't provide that to other people. And you need to recognize that some people haven't got that in themselves, so they can't provide that to you. That might not be their fault. And you cannot fight with that person. You cannot say, you need to do that, you've got to do this, you shouldn't treat me like that. That person's got to figure that out for themselves. And if they haven't got the emotional maturity to do so, then they can't devaluize your boundaries. They need to figure that out for themselves. If they're not ready to do that, that's their path. They need to be on that path. You need to stay on yours and stay true to yourself without trying to fix somebody else.
Yes, because we can't change anybody else, actually. The only person we can change is ourselves. When we're ready, willing and able to. It's the same for all of us. So, yeah, I like what you said there. And I think that those people who do have an issue with how we are, or that there's conflict in the relationship there, that it very often comes from early wounding. So as you've been wounded, would you say you're a wounded healer, Lisa?
Yeah, definitely now. I do believe that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I have bad days like everybody else. I think with me, it's more, some days I wake up and think, how the hell am I going to get through today? Because I've taken far too much. But then I just think, You always figure it out. So, and then I just end up doing it. I don't know how I'm going to do it some days, but most days I do. But I think I've still got triggers. It's just now I know how to not allow them to like provoke me. I don't react to them. I know how to remove myself from them. I don't allow anyone to keep pushing my buttons, because I feel that if they need that kind of reaction, then they must lack self-worth to need some kind of reaction off another person. So I don't allow it, but it's not always been that case by far. I was so reactive and responsive. I'd make everything about me, because I didn't have a lot of self-worth at one point. But then, and it sounds really, really strange, and I'm not ever saying to people, don't talk, obviously express to the right people. And I was probably venting to the wrong people and trusting the wrong people and letting like anybody in straight away, and like being completely open with them, and then ended up getting hurt. And then it just make me into a person that I wasn't. And I definitely believe that the past, especially 5 years, the last 2 definitely, I'd say are probably 95% healed, definitely, because I've got a much smaller friend group. I don't go on the party scene very often whatsoever, and I find happy in simplicity, like my animals, my close friends, my walks. It's just things like that. I really look forward to every Sunday morning just finding a sunset. I'm in a sunrise, and just it is absolutely simple things like planting my garden, planting, like I've been and bought a load of seeds just to grow veg, and I'd never thought I'd be doing anything like that. But it's just really finding happiness in simple things. And then it's expectation as well. If you don't have any expectation of, I think why are people always chasing something? Why are people always looking for what's more? Just be grateful for what's around you, and just don't expect anything, and have that little, find simplicity in having a meditation and lighting a candle. It's simple self-care, having a hot bath with some candles and some essential oils. It's many things. It doesn't cost the earth either. Plant a few flowers. Everybody likes being surrounded by a plant, don't they? It's just simple acts of self-care, I think.
Yeah, and simple pleasures. And what you said there about why are people always chasing something else, chasing after something? It's grasping, isn't it? And what you seem to be talking about, Lisa, is it's very similar to my way of being, really. It's the Eastern philosophy, I think, and it's the ancient philosophy of just being grateful for what we have and being mindful and life's simple pleasures. And I think the grasping after more and more stuff and wanting things and setting our happiness outside of ourselves is very much a modern Western thing based on capitalism and greed. And underneath it all, I think, is fear that we're not good enough. So what you're talking about, I think, is doing a lot of inner work to get into that place where we are comfortable with ourselves and comfortable with those simple pleasures.
Yeah, I mean, you see a lot of people that have to have hundreds of pounds on coats, jackets, and they have to be wearing the best this and the best that. And it's just like, how can that actually be emotionally, mentally, and spiritually fulfilling? People are always looking to have designer labels, to, as I said before, chase something, and materialistics do not make you happy. It's like, we all like being surrounded by nice things, don't get me wrong. As I said to you when we were chatting before we came on the live, I'm decorating at the moment. But when it comes to sort of like, I'm not materialistic at all. I find the best way I can describe it is feed the mind, feed the emotions, give me some kind of passionate conversation. That'll be something that like brings me alive, not buying me a pair of Louboutins, if that makes sense. And I think people, men and women, I mean, I've been involved previously with a guy that he just used to spend £600 on a jacket, and it'd just be like, that is absolutely mindless. That is over a month's rent for me. And it's just like mindless to me. But for him, he had to look good. He had to have everything like in position, the way he looked and his presentation. I just couldn't relate with that at all. I'd rather be sat on a hill in my walking boots in a puddle. And it's just very strange how outward things, people think chasing after financial security, which is lovely, don't get me wrong, and materialistic things, it makes us look good, but we're gonna the whole thing about looking good is for external forces, external people. But when you're sat at home on your own in your £600 coat, do you feel good? Not really, no. So until you do that inner work when you're sat on your own, you can't go out into the big world and impress anybody else, because it's not all about how you look, is it? It's about how you come across to people, how make an impact on people, make a difference with people, make people remember that you didn't have a nice coat or a nice pair of shoes. She made me smile today because of this. He made me feel good because he said this to me today. That is the impact that you should be having on another person, not what you can provide financially or how you look financially, or tell them what I've got this or I've got that. How about, well, I've been in that position and this is what I did and I think that'll help you, or you look lovely today, or why are you peed off, tell me, I'll try and help you. That's the kind of impact you want to be having on people. And I believe that awakened people like myself, apparently there's only 1% of us, but I believe that's growing, hopefully. So if we awaken, say, 10 people in our lifetime, then that 10 people awaken another 10, so that's 100. So we are here to kind of make a different impact on people, a spiritual, mental, emotional impact on people, rather than what the modern world has become, where we're chasing the next paycheck.
Yes, I totally agree. And I've got some good examples of that just from today, actually. That, you know, let's see, what was it, 9 years ago, I was that person who, you know, I had to have a flashy car and a nice house and several guitars, and it was all for, not all of it for show, but it was to bolster my self-esteem, my sense of self. And now I don't give a monkey's what type of car I've got. I just have one which minimises my impact on the environment. But those small acts, you know, there's the influencing people in a positive way. And today I had a card arrived on my doorstep, and a lovely note and a gift inside from someone who'd come to the online festival I did last weekend, and they'd hand delivered this card with a gift inside for me. And I thought, yeah, that's really touched me. And last night when the supermarket delivery man came, I was playing the guitar and he could hear me as he was ringing the doorbell, and I answered the door and he said, "Oh, nice guitaring, very good." And just that, it brightens up. It brightened up my day, and the card brightened up my day. And that's what I try and do, just small acts of kindness. And that's what brings contentment for me these days. So, inner child. Do we need to speak about inner child before we end?
The inner child has a lot to do with the reaction and responses as well. A lot of our adult makeup is, as we both have mentioned in this chat, a lot to do with what we've picked up along the way. And they say the first 8 years of your life are a lot to do with the adult you become. If you get your child to 8, then we'd hope, like my children, when I've got an 18-year-old son and my daughter's 16 this year, I can guarantee none of them will need any kind of mental or emotional support. Well, professionally, they may need my, they're not broken children. They're happy, they're stable, they're strong-minded, they've got stability, and they've not got any inner work that they need to do on themselves, because I believe I've always provided what I didn't have for them. I've parented my children a hell of a lot differently than how I was parented. But I believe that because I was shown such reactive anger to just being a child most of the time, because kids do play up, kids do make mistakes, or kids may be slight naughty. I was met with anger and severe punishment and being shouted at, and it made me very, very nervous, very nervous. So as I got a little bit older, I thought that that was the correct way to respond to people, because that's how I'd been responded to. I didn't know any different. So with the inner child, you go into your adolescence with your hormones in place as well, not knowing anything except what you've seen. So you shadow what you've seen. Mm-hmm. So until you figure out at a certain age that that is wrong, and then you have to go as an adult, you're a broken adult because of the child that you were. So you have to go on and heal yourself. Many don't know how to, they don't know where to start, they don't know why the way they are. And many, and a hell of a lot, turn to substance to numb the anger, to numb the guilt of the way they react, the way they are. It's a number, because they don't know why it is, and it's because of what they've learned, what they've seen as a child, and the things they've experienced, unfortunately. So that's a lot to do with the inner child work. Until you realise why you are like you are, you can't fix it.
Yeah, totally agree with that. And I suppose just from a terminology perspective, in the work I do, we speak about the inner child work, and we speak about wounding. So we don't say we're broken and we need fixing, but we're wounded and we're in pain and we need healing.
Yeah,
which is a different way of saying the same thing, I suppose. Lovely. Okay, so is there anything else, Lisa, that you'd like to bring before we end?
I think as a conclusion, if I can kind of offer any advice to anybody that may be suffering with the mental health, or feeling lack of self-worth, or just feeling really rubbish at the moment with the current climate and stuff like that, is, as I mentioned briefly before, just small acts of self-care. Run yourself a warm bath, light a few candles, put on some meditation music, get some lavender oil, a few drops of that, turn the light off, have a nice bath, listen to some meditation music before you go to bed, and do some forms of gratitude. So it doesn't cost the earth, and it's just just buy a couple of plants, a few packs of seeds and some compost and a couple of pots. It's not going to cost any more than like a tenner. And watching them grow and fertilise. And another thing in the spiritual realm as well, they say if you've got things fertilising in your garden at your door, it'll fertilise prosperity into your home and into yourself. So that's another thing. But just little acts of self-care.
Lovely. Yeah, I like that. And I will add to that, getting outside every day, and maybe getting into nature and seeing a sunrise now and again.
Yeah, massively.
Okay, lovely. So people can connect with you at Lunar Magic on Facebook. Is there any other kind of contact details you want to share, Lisa, in case anyone wants to follow you?
That's the big one for the spiritual one, but if you're into the Magister Music Scene, I also run the Magister social media on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, so that's always got a massive music stuff on, and hopefully once we're out of this mess, we'll be putting on massive events again.
Can't wait. I'm really missing my gigs. Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you very much for being here and sharing your wisdom and experience with us, Lisa.
Thanks for having me.
Very welcome. So I'm going to pop you into the backstage area. If you're busy, feel free to disappear. Otherwise, I'll chat with you in a few minutes.
Okay.
So, thanks again. Take care.
See you later.
There we go, folks. So I hope you found that interesting and useful. Some nice tips at the end there around self-care. Okay, so if you enjoyed that, and you know anyone else who might enjoy the kind of thing that goes on here, do invite them in. You can do that just directly through inviting them to the group, or just share the group on your Facebook page or whatever you want to do. And if you found some benefit there, maybe you want to buy me a coffee, but only a virtual one because I don't like coffee. So you can go to buymeacoffee.com/thrivehive and drop me a few quid if you wish. Many thanks to those who've done so already. And you can also subscribe to the Hive for £7 a month, cheaper than Netflix, especially after their recent price rise. And you get lots of things like discounts off coaching and mental health first aid courses and stuff like that. So it's supporting this ongoing stuff as well. So thank you to all my current subscribers. And finally, talking about music festivals, if you're missing them just like I am and Lisa is, then you might want to watch Thrive Hive Fest, which happened last weekend. And I think I can say it was a resounding triumph, despite the technical issues we had on day one. You can watch it back on, well, go to pathlight.org.uk/events to get yourself a £10 ticket for around about 8 hours of entertainment, 30 different artists, all top quality, all highly entertaining and uplifting stuff. So yeah, you can do that up until the end of Feb. Tickets will still be available, and all of the proceeds are going to Mind, the mental health charity. My local branch have seen referrals for some of their mental health support services skyrocket by 400% since the start of the pandemic. So they are reliant upon donations from kind folk like yourselves. So you can help them whilst helping yourself to some lovely uplifting music and poetry and more. Okay, so that's it. I haven't got any more events scheduled at the minute. So if anyone wants to come on and do a talk like Lisa's just done, then drop me a line and we can have a chat and see if you can offer something to the Hive. So just drop me an email or find me on Facebook or message me on here, whatever is best for you. So I hope you're well, take care of yourselves and see you soon. Bye-bye.